Joining us now from Tehran is Professor Mohammad Marandi, Professor of North American Studies at Tehran University. Professor Marandi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I want to know the significance of the parliamentary commission that blamed Mr. Mortazavi for the deaths at Kahrizak and basically condemned those 3 deaths and the conditions at Kahrizak prison. Tell me about the significance of that happening now.
Well, I think it's quite significant, and just a couple of hours ago I spoke to Dr. Ruhul Amini, who is a professor at Tehran Medical University. He is the father of, as you know, of one of the 3 victims. He said that he was very satisfied both with the committee's findings as well as the general investigation being carried out by the judiciary as well, and the one carried out by the Supreme National Security Council. He said that he was also very pleased, and he spoke on behalf of the 3 families of the 3 victims, that Ayatollah Khamenei was also very supportive of the investigation, and that he was even, his response was even stronger than that of the families. Dr. Ruhul Amini said that, yes?
I want to know whether, okay, what else did Dr. Ruhul Amini say?
Well, he said that Ayatollah Khamenei ordered the closure of Kahrizak when he heard rumors about the abuses, and this was a day or 2 or 3 before the 3 young men were killed. And he said that the problem was basically that the response of the judge, Mortazavi, was slow, and that if he had, and he blames Mr. Mortazavi for this. Mr. Ruhul Amini also said that he, so far as...
Mr. Marandi, did Mr. Ruhul Amini blame Mr. Mortazavi, the prosecutor, one of the deputy prosecutors in Iran?
He did, but he also said that he felt that the investigations that are being carried out and the judicial process has been very thorough. And he also said that he has been unwilling to speak to the Western media because he feels that they're very hostile and biased towards Iran. And he felt that the investigation has been much better than, for example, the American judicial and government investigation over Blackwater, Guantanamo Bay, and so on.
Right. Mr. Marandi, I want to know what you think is going to come next, because there are suggestions that Mr. Mortazavi may be a scapegoat, may be dismissed, but in fact he seems to still hold his position as Deputy Prosecutor General and has been promoted.
Well, I don't think he's been promoted, but there is an ongoing investigation. And again, Professor Ruhul Amini was telling me that he felt very confident that there will be no scapegoats, but that the judicial process is a slow one and the judiciary is being very careful, and that he believes that all the people involved in the crime will be punished, and that some of them may actually face capital punishment.
Because some of the conservative members of parliament, for instance, Mr. Mohattari, for instance, Mr. Tavakkoli, are calling for further investigations. Where else do you think this is going to lead? And do you think the government is trying to find ways of rapprochement with the opposition?
Well, I think that is to a large extent already happening. Over the last week, there have been a number of debates between reformists and principalists or conservatives on television, on Iranian television. They've been very lively and they've had a very large audience. It seems that the opposition, which is very divided in itself, is trying to redefine itself. And of course the principalists or the conservatives, they too are differing factions that have differences among themselves. The debates on television seem to be showing that Iran is going back to the openness that we had before the elections, and I think that is a sign that things are going back to normal now. One other thing that I should add, and that is that Dr. Ruhul Amini also told me that the young physician who died, he apparently himself was he had committed some offenses that were not very major, but he said that that may have been a reason for suicide, but he does not know if he committed suicide or not, and that the case is still ongoing, and that no one really knows exactly at this point what happened to the young physician.
And also some of the Conservative MPs in Parliament have said in a letter to the authorities that there are other detention facilities in Iran that need to be investigated. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, from my understanding, the investigation so far carried out by Parliament, the judiciary, and the Supreme National Security Council have been very thorough. And it would seem that if there are cases in other prisons, that those cases will be investigated. Parliament has stated their report on Kahrizak. It has been very thorough, and I think that there's no reason for them not to continue investigating if they feel that there are problems elsewhere as well.
Why do you think there are all these shifting reasons and explanations by the authorities for the death of Dr. Ramin?
Well, to be honest, I don't think that there has been any shift or change over the past few weeks. The first 24 hours after it was revealed that he had died, there were conflicting reports about what happened. But again, Professor Ruhul Amini told me that this young gentleman had committed some minor offenses and that he may have been fearful about going to jail as a result. But again, it is unclear, and it would be unfair to make any comment either for or against either argument that whether he was killed or whether he had committed suicide. The investigation is continuing, and he believes that it will get to the bottom of it.
What minor offenses?
To be honest, I didn't ask Professor Ruhul Amini the specifics. That is more or less what he told me. He said that he had committed some minor offenses in this affair, and that he may have been fearful of serving prison after the 12 people who were involved in the offenses, and some of them are now being accused of murder, and they may face capital punishment. He may have feared that he would be put in jail for a period of time. But again, it is unclear. There's no final verdict in this case, and really nothing more can really be said at this stage.
All right, Dr. Marandi, thank you so much indeed for joining us from Tehran today.
Thank you.